Welcome to the introduction of the skeletal system. This is a bit of an overview, and you will have to go away and research it and look into it so that you can completely fill out your workbook and answer the questions. So the muscles are held together by the skeletal system. It is of the utmost importance within our body, because without the skeletal system, we'd just be a lump of cells, really. This really gives us the framework and support that protects the body's organs. It provides structure and facilitates movement. It is the structural framework of the human body, enabling this movement, protecting the vital organs, and supporting the critical physiological functions. Understanding this system is really essential for therapists to identify whereabouts in the body things might be occurring, and so therefore we can adapt our treatments for these skeletal related issues that may come about. So the skeletal system consists of around 206 bones in the adult, although the exact number can vary slightly from person to person due to differences like the fusion of certain bones during development. So the skeletal system is made up of several key components. We've got the bones. These are the hard, rigid structures that form the framework in the body. Bones come in various shapes and sizes and are made of dense connective tissue filled with minerals like calcium and phosphorus, which gives them strength and durability. We've also got the cartilage, which is a tough, flexible tissue that covers the ends of the bones and helps cushion those joints, reducing friction and allowing the smooth movement. These are also found in other parts of the body, such as the nose and ears, and they are essential and get worn away with time, with use, with age. So you definitely find as your population gets older, or if your population gets more fitter, like physically doing demanding stuff all the time, that those cartilage areas remove, and that creates long-standing pain if it's not addressed with operations or replacements. Joints are the places where the two or more bones meet. They allow for the movement and flexibility in the bones, and there are different types of joints, including hinge joints like the knee and elbow, ball and socket joints like the hip and shoulder, and pivot joints like the neck. And we will look at these, or rather I will send you to a place where there's a very good video on YouTube that explains it in much better detail than I ever could. Ligaments, so they're the strong bands of tissue. They're connective tissue, and they connect the bones to other bones at the joints. They really help stabilize the joints and prevent excessive movement or dislocation. In some areas, people that have hypermobility, their ligaments are less rigid. They are much more flexible, and in some cases there aren't any ligaments at all. If a ligament does get broken, it's extremely painful. Then we've got tendons. Tendons are the tough bands of connective tissues that attach muscles to the bone. So when the muscles contract, they pull on the tendons, which in turn pulls the bones, causing the movement. So let's have a little. And then the final bit is obviously the bone marrow that is within. It's really easy to imagine that the bones are just these dense, kind of almost like concrete or something, that they are not living, but bone is living. And inside the bone is the bone marrow, which is soft and spongy tissue. It's only found in certain bones, the long bones, and it's responsible for producing blood cells, including red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets, which are essential for carrying oxygen, fighting infections, and clotting blood. And in my mind, that I find it very hard to imagine that inside my bones there is this other physiological function that is also going on. So the functions of the skeletal systems include the support. So it provides the structural support for the body, maintaining posture and enabling upright movement. It includes protection, protecting the internal organs from injury. For example, the skull protects the brain, and the rib cage shields the heart and the lungs. Movement works with the muscles and joints to facilitate movement. Muscles contract and pull on the bones, producing the motion. Mineral storage, so stores minerals such as calcium and phosphorus, which is essential for bone strength and various other metabolic processes within the body. And it's also involved in the blood cell production. Bone marrow produces red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets, which is vital for oxygen transport, immune function, and clotting. Now, when we look at the skeleton, there are the structure of the skeletal section, there is the key components. So we've got the axial skeleton, which is the skull that protects the brain. It's the vertebral column, the spine, including the cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, and coccyx. We've also got the rib cage that protects the heart and the lungs. And then the second component is the appendicular skeleton. So this is the upper limbs, which is the arm and hands, the lower limbs, which are the legs and feet. We've got the pelvic girdle that supports weight and provides attachment for lower limbs. And then we've got the shoulder girdle that supports the arm movement. So those two key components, the axial skeleton, which is the skull, vertebral and ribcage, and the appendicular skeleton, which is the upper limbs, the lower limbs, the pelvic girdle and the shoulder girdle. So let's have a little bit more of a look at the different types of bones. So the long bones are found in the arms and the legs, so the femur and the humerus. Long bones are characterised by their elongated shape, acting as levers to support movement and weight. The femur is the thigh bone, the longest and strongest bone in the human body. It supports the weight of the body, providing attachment for muscles involved in walking, running and jumping, and protects blood vessels and nerves that pass through the thigh. We also have short bones. These are mainly found in the wrists and ankles, so the carpals and the tarsals. Short bones are cube-shaped and provide stability and support with limited movement. An example is the carpal, the wrist region, forming the connection between the forearm and the hand. There are 8 small bones arranged in 2 rows that are used to facilitate a wide range of wrist movements such as flexion, extension, rotation, and absorbs and distributes force during activities like gripping or weight bearing on hands. We've got the flat bones. These are thin, flattened and slightly curved, providing protection to vital organs and serving as attachment points for muscles. There is the sternum and the ribs as an example for this. There is the examples for this are the skull and the ribs. No, I'm going completely mad. The skull and the sternum. I'm reading the wrong part of my form. The sternum is found at the central part of the chest, forming the front of the rib cage, which consists of 2 layers of compact bones, including a layer of spongy bone and no medullary cavity. It protects the heart and the lungs primarily, and the major blood vessels within the thoracic cavity, and provides an anchor for the ribs and the muscles involved in respiration and upper body movement to be attached. Irregular bones have complex shapes that do not fit into other bone categories. These include the vertebrae and the mandible. So the vertebrae forms the backbone, or the spinal column, and consists of 33 vertebrae in 5 regions. They have a combination of spongy bone and a thin outer layer of compact bone, and are in specialised shape adapted for their unique function. It encloses the spinal cord within the vertebrae canal, and they provide structural support for the body. And it has the attachment points for muscles and ligaments, facilitates flexibility and movement of the trunk, with intervertebrae discs between vertebrae cushion impacts. This is like a hugely wonderful structure, but at the same time, anything that slightly goes wrong with the spine and the spinal cord can have a really severe impact. So ensuring that clients are still moving, that they're stretching, and that they avoid big impacts so they prevent their spine from being hurt really does help with the longevity of the body and of the movement without pain. We've got sesamoid bones, which are small round bones that are embedded within tendons, typically found near joints. The example for this is the patella, found at the front of the kneecap. It acts as a pulley to enhance the muscle leverage and protect tendons from wear and tear. It increases the efficiency of the quadriceps muscles during leg extension and protects the knee joint by absorbing stress and reducing friction. So the main functions of the skeleton are support, protection, movement, mineral storage, and blood cell protection. Understanding bone formation, it's also called ossification. This is the process where new bone tissues form. It primarily occurs during childhood and adolescence, which is why we always talk about growing pains and those aches and pains as we go through that growth. But it continues in some capacity throughout life as part of bone remodeling. If you click on this link here, it will take you to the YouTube video that is much better at explaining it than I am. But it will talk about endochondral ossification, which is where most bones in the bodies, like long bones like the femur, grow this way by replacing cartilage with bone. And there is the intramembranous ossification, which is the flat bones developed directly from the connective tissue membrane. The key components of bone growth is the epiphyseal growth plate, it's the role of the hormones, and it looks at the factors that affect bone growth, such as nutrition. So calcium and vitamin D are essential for bone growth. Exercise, so weight-bearing activities, stimulate bone growth. And genetics determines the rate and extent of bone growth. Bone growth over time, it's really funny, we have rapid growth, particularly during puberty in our childhood and adolescence. Then adulthood, our growth plates close and bones only remodel. And then in aging, it's the loss of bone density that can occur due to reduced osteoblast activity. Just a quick look at the joints. We've got the main joints, we've got the fibrous, which is the immovable, so the skull fissures here. We've got the cartilaginous, which is partially movable joints, such as the vertebrae in the pelvis. And then we've got the synovial joints that are very movable. So we've got the elbow, the shoulders, the hips, the knees. This basically, synovial joints are the joints where places where two or more bones meet. They allow for the movement and flexibility in the body. There are different types of joints, including hinge joints like the knee and elbow, ball and socket joints like the hip and the shoulder, and pivot joints like the neck. And there is an incredible video on YouTube here. So if you click on this link, it will take you to that video and really give you some more information about those joints. And another part that I wanted us to look at was the arch, to just show you how important these kind of these tendons are. We've got the medial longitudinal and we've got the lateral longitudinal transverse arch. And this is hugely important for shock absorption, weight distribution, and adaptation to surfaces. You will notice as you get older that these joints become more compressed, so they become flatter, which it can lead to kind of pain and changes in your posture, changes in the way that you walk. So it's really important we support these as best as we can with good shoes, good arch supports within our shoes. And definitely when we're younger, we really don't notice any of this. But certainly as we kind of reach our 30s and our 40s, we need to protect that area. So it really, really helps with the continued movement. So that is the end of our beautiful presentation. I hope you've enjoyed. Go away and have a look at the workbook. This is obviously a kind of quick screenshot at the system, the skeletal system, and it's huge. It's absolutely huge. If you love it, you can look into it more and more. If you don't, you might just have to go through the workbook and look at different aspects that you need to know in a little bit more detail. I look forward to correcting and marking your books.